Black Friday frenzy, when greed goes too far and karma claps back. It was 4:30 a.m., and the world felt like it had stopped to shiver. Angela Carter stood in the biting cold outside the suburban megastore, wrapped in a coat she had owned since college. Her breath came out in little white puffs, matching the cadence of the murmuring crowd. They shuffled in line, waiting for the holy grail of shopping to begin, the annual Black Friday sale. Welcome to the Payback Vault, your go-to hub for revenge stories and payback. For Angela, this wasn't just a shopping trip, it was a mission. Her son Marcus needed a new laptop, not just for fun, but to keep up with his schoolwork. His current one, a beat-up old relic that struggled to even load a web page, had been his lifeline during the pandemic, but now it was a technological dinosaur. Angela had worked double shifts at the diner for 3 months, tucking away tips like a squirrel hoarding acorns, just to make this happen. Her goal was simple: a sleek, budget-friendly laptop advertised in the Black Friday catalog. The discount was steep, the timing perfect, but she knew that competition would be fierce. The doors were set to open at 5 a.m., and the crowd was restless. The chatter of eager bargain hunters mixed with the occasional laugh or complaint about the cold. Angela glanced at the people around her, wondering who would be a friendly face and who would turn into a shopping gladiator once the clock struck 5. She clutched her thermos of coffee, hoping it would keep her fingers from freezing. Her folded shopping list was tucked neatly in her pocket. It was a meticulous plan. Electronics first, then Marcus's gaming headset, and finally, if time and chaos allowed, a few small gifts for her coworkers at the diner. The chaos begins. At precisely 5 a.m., the doors creaked open and the line surged forward. It wasn't walking, it was a stampede. Angela tightened her grip on her cart, her heart racing as she was swept inside. The store was a war zone. Shoppers darted in every direction, carts clanging against displays and elbows flying as people reached for discounted appliances, toys, and TVs. Angela kept her focus, weaving through the chaos with a precision that could only come from years of maneuvering a busy diner floor. Finally, she reached the electronics section. The laptops were stacked neatly on a shelf, each one adorned with a bright red Black Friday deal tag. Her eyes scanned the models until she found it, the exact laptop she had been saving for. Relief washed over her as she picked up the box and placed it carefully in her cart. She had done it. The most important item on her list was secured. Angela allowed herself a brief moment of triumph before shifting her focus to the rest of her list. But as she turned her cart, a commotion nearby caught her attention. Enter Bradley. He strode into the electronics aisle like he owned the place. Bradley, a man in his mid-40s, dressed in a shiny leather jacket that looked like it cost more than Angela's rent. His confidence was palpable, radiating arrogance as he surveyed the shelves. Angela watched as he grabbed not 1, not 2, but 5 laptops, stacking them in his cart with the enthusiasm of a child in a candy store. He didn't stop there. Bradley moved down the aisle, sweeping gaming consoles, tablets, and other high-demand items into his cart, like a human vacuum. Angela's jaw tightened. She wasn't the only one who noticed. Other shoppers glanced at Bradley's cart with dismay, their expressions ranging from frustration to outright anger. She took a deep breath and approached him. "Excuse me," she said, keeping her tone polite. "Could you leave some for the rest of us? Some of us have been waiting for hours." Bradley turned to her, his lips curling into a smirk. "Should have gotten here sooner," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. Angela stared at him, momentarily stunned by his audacity. Around her, other shoppers murmured in agreement, but no one else spoke up. Bradley, unbothered, continued loading his cart, his grin growing wider with each item he grabbed. Angela stepped back, her mind racing. She wasn't about to let this slide. The plan. Angela had dealt with plenty of entitled customers at the diner, but something about Bradley's behavior struck a deeper nerve. It wasn't just selfish, it was cruel. He wasn't shopping for his family. He was hoarding, likely to resell the items online at a ridiculous markup. She glanced at her phone, an idea forming. Quickly, she snapped a photo of Bradley and his overflowing cart. Then she opened her local community Facebook group and began typing, "When greed takes over Black Friday. This guy thinks it's okay to hoard all the laptops and leave families empty-handed. Let's make sure this doesn't go unnoticed." She attached the photo and hit post. Within moments, notifications started rolling in. Comments poured in from frustrated shoppers, all echoing the same sentiment. "People like this ruin the holidays." "What a jerk. Let the store know ASAP." Angela smirked. The wheels were in motion. Phase 1, stirring the pot. Angela continued to watch Bradley as he moved to another aisle, leaving his cart unattended, while he argued with a store associate about a price discrepancy. It was the perfect opportunity. She rolled her cart closer to his and began redistributing his items. The first laptop went to a frazzled dad nearby. "Here," Angela whispered, placing it in his cart. "Merry early Christmas." The man's eyes widened. "Thank you," he said, his voice filled with relief. "You have no idea how much this means." Angela nodded and moved on. The next laptop found its way into the hands of a college student clutching a list. "You're a lifesaver," the student said, tears welling up in her eyes. One by one, Bradley's hoarded items disappeared, finding homes with shoppers who truly needed them. The tipping point. When Bradley returned to his cart, he froze. The towering pile of electronics he had so proudly amassed was now noticeably smaller. His expression shifted from confusion to anger as he looked around, trying to figure out what had happened. Angela stood a few feet away, her face neutral, as she pretended to browse a display of phone chargers. Inside, she was grinning like a cat with a mouthful of canary. Bradley stormed over to a store associate, waving his arms wildly. "Someone's stealing from my cart!" he bellowed, his voice carrying across the store. The associate looked over, clearly unimpressed. "Sir, carts are not personal property until you've checked out. We can't guarantee anything left unattended." Bradley's face turned red. "This is ridiculous. Do you know who I am?" Angela couldn't resist. She stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Someone who doesn't know how to share, apparently." The crowd around them chuckled, and a few people clapped. Bradley glared at her, but before he could respond, the store manager arrived, clipboard in hand. The store manager's arrival was swift and authoritative, clipboard in hand, her expression a mix of annoyance and exhaustion. Bradley, still red-faced and indignant, turned to her as though she was his last hope. "Finally, someone in charge," Bradley exclaimed, jabbing a finger toward Angela. "She's the one who's been messing with my cart. She's probably the one stealing my stuff." The manager raised an eyebrow, her gaze shifting from Bradley's half-empty cart to Angela's calm demeanor. "Sir, our store policy states that we enforce item limits on high-demand products, especially on Black Friday. Can you explain why your cart was overflowing with laptops and gaming consoles?" Bradley's confidence wavered for a split second before he plastered on a smug grin. "Because I got here early. First come, first served, right? That's how Black Friday works." Angela folded her arms, her voice steady. Actually, Black Friday works when everyone has a fair shot at getting what they need. You've been hoarding everything on this aisle, and it's not just selfish, it's against store policy. The crowd around them began to murmur, and a few shoppers nodded in agreement. The manager tapped her pen against her clipboard. Sir, we've also received complaints about your behavior from multiple customers, and we have store policies limiting purchases to 2 items per category. She gestured to his cart. You've far exceeded that. Bradley's composure cracked. This is ridiculous. I've been shopping here for years. I spend more money in this store than all of these people combined. He waved his arms dramatically at the crowd, who responded with boos and laughter. Angela stepped forward, her voice laced with quiet authority. Maybe, instead of spending so much, you should try being a decent human being. Just a thought. The crowd erupted into applause. Bradley's face turned crimson, his fists clenching as though he was about to explode. The manager takes action. Sir, the manager said, her tone firm, we're going to have to redistribute the items in your cart. Our policies are in place to ensure fairness for all customers, especially on days like this. Bradley's jaw dropped. You can't do that. This is theft. No, it's called policy enforcement, the manager replied smoothly. She motioned to 2 employees, who began unloading his cart and returning items to the shelves. Bradley sputtered, his hands flailing helplessly as his hoarded treasure disappeared before his eyes. The crowd around him cheered, and a woman in a festive Christmas sweater yelled, Serves you right! Angela's moment. Angela stayed back, quietly observing as justice unfolded. She didn't need to gloat. Bradley was doing a fine job of making himself look ridiculous. But when she noticed a young mom hesitating near the shelf where the laptops had been restocked, Angela decided to act. Here, she said, grabbing one of the laptops and placing it in the woman's cart. You look like you've been waiting for this. The mom's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. I didn't think I'd get one. Angela smiled. It's your lucky day. She turned back to see Bradley arguing with the manager, his voice rising in pitch. I'll call corporate. I'll have your job, he shouted, but the manager remained unbothered. You're welcome to contact corporate, she said with a shrug. But for now, I'm going to ask you to leave the store. Security will escort you out if necessary. The grand exit. Bradley stormed out, his empty cart rattling loudly as he shoved it toward the exit. The crowd parted, some filming the spectacle on their phones, others laughing openly. Angela caught snippets of comments. About time someone took him down a peg. That guy's been ruining Black Friday for years. Hope he learns his lesson. As the doors closed behind him, the store felt lighter, as though his departure had lifted a cloud of tension. A new viral hero. Angela's phone buzzed in her pocket as she pushed her cart toward the checkout line. Her Facebook post was exploding with likes, comments, and shares. People were calling her a hero, thanking her for standing up to greed. One comment stood out. I've seen this guy every year. He's always hoarding stuff to resell. Glad someone finally did something about it. Local news outlets began picking up the story, dubbing Angela the Black Friday Avenger. Bradley, meanwhile, became an internet sensation for all the wrong reasons. Memes of his red-faced tantrum flooded social media with captions like, "When you try to hoard, but karma says no." Back home. Later that day, Angela returned home, exhausted but triumphant. Marcus was still asleep, sprawled across the couch with his headphones on. Angela set the laptop on the kitchen table and made herself a cup of cocoa, savoring the warmth as she scrolled through the flood of supportive messages on her phone. When Marcus finally woke up and saw the laptop, his reaction was everything Angela had hoped for. "Mom, you got it?" he exclaimed, running over to hug her. She ruffled his hair, smiling. "Of course I did. You've earned it." Marcus wasted no time setting it up, his excitement palpable as he marveled at the speed and sleek design. Angela watched him from the doorway, her heart swelling with pride. The lesson. As the evening settled, Angela reflected on the day. It wasn't just about the laptop. It was about standing up to selfishness, about showing Marcus the importance of fairness and courage. And somewhere out there, Bradley was probably nursing his wounded pride. Final thoughts. Black Friday isn't just about deals. It's about humanity, about finding moments of kindness and justice amidst the chaos. Angela Carter didn't just secure a laptop. She reminded everyone that sometimes karma needs a little help. Because here at the Payback Vault, we believe in one thing. When greed runs wild, it's up to the rest of us to say, "Not today."